Hi Circuit Riders, welcome back. If you watched our video last week, you saw that we started our trip to New Mexico with a visit to White Sands National Park. It was epic and amazing. So if you haven't seen that yet, go back and check it out because this week is our second half of our New Mexico stay. We're going to do some fun things in Roswell and some other sightseeing places. So I hope you enjoy this video. Right now we are in Phoenix, Arizona, which will be our next stop. We'll show you that next week. Enjoy. So we're only here in southern New Mexico for 3 nights, which means we have 2 full days here. And we have gotten really good at packing 2-day stays, especially if we're trying to collect an area. So when we came in on Thursday, we made sure that as soon as we got set up, mid-Thursday afternoon, we went right back out again to have an experience that night. We went over to White Sands Park, checked out their visitor center, did the scenic drive, and that gives us a little bit of a jump on, we've squeezed out an extra day of activities doing that. If you can get out in the afternoon or evening right when you first arrive. Today, we are taking a longish day trip, 2-hour drive to Roswell, New Mexico. We couldn't be this close to Roswell and not check it out. But there is a winter storm warning on our route. This route goes through the mountains, and yesterday you saw when we were in Cloudcroft, that was over 8,000 feet in elevation. So the winter storm warning is for any place in the mountains here that's over 7,500 feet. So we're gonna maybe be going through a snowstorm today, we'll see, but because we're in a dually, not really worried about it.
Because I was born and grew up in Maine, I'm not worried about it.
Not a real one, but...
No, it is. It is. It's been reworked. I think it might be.
There were 3 categories of debris. Foil-like metallic substance, brittle brownish plastic-like material, and fragments of what appeared to be I-beams. My father said the debris was recovered from a crash site north of Roswell, and he was certain it was not from a weather balloon.
Had a fascinating time here at the International UFO Museum. I did not know much about the incident at Roswell. I just knew basically there was, claimed that an alien spaceship landed or crashed here in the 40s. So we learned so much about that incident today. And if you're not familiar with the story, there was a lecture given by a man here who has spent 30 years researching all this stuff, and he had a fascinating lecture. So I'll let him talk to you for a little bit.
There was a ranch foreman, Mac Brazel, on a ranch 65 miles northwest of here. At night during a thunderstorm, he heard a sound louder than thunder, an explosion of some kind. He went out the next morning on horseback to check his sheep, look at his windmills for damage. He came upon a debris field, pieces of something scattered 3/4 of a mile long, several hundred yards wide. Now the rancher had no idea what this stuff was, so he loaded a few pieces in his pickup. Came to town. He didn't go to the military. He went to Sheriff Wilcox's office. Sheriff's office is located up the street behind the courthouse. The sheriff, his wife, and 2 little daughters lived in the building. They lived in the bottom of the building. The jail was upstairs. Well, the military found out the rancher gave the sheriff debris, and they came out the next day, took debris from the sheriff, told the two little girls, if your mom and dad ever talk about this, you'll never see them again. Well, that was the first threat. Since they didn't know what it was, they contacted the military, got a hold of Major Marcel, the top intelligence officer with the atomic bomb group at the time. So Major Marcel and his assistant, Captain Cabot, went up to the ranch. It was late. Next morning, they loaded their vehicles with some of the debris and came back to the base. General Ramey was in Fort Worth, Texas at Carswell Air Force Base. He was in charge of Roswell. He called out here, he said, I want Major Marcel to fly to Fort Worth, bring me some debris, I want to look at it. He got to the general's office about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He put the material on the top of the general's desk. General Ramey said, let's go in the map room, show me where this happened. When they came out of the map room, Major Marcel was shocked. The debris he brought with him was no longer in the office, and on the floor was a weather balloon. Major Marcel was forced to pose for pictures with that weather balloon. Now, we have 2 pictures of Major Marcel out here on the wall with that weather balloon. When you go out there, look at those pictures, because look at the expression on his face. He does not want to be in those pictures. There's also 2 pictures of General Ramey and his assistant, Colonel DeBose, with the weather balloon out there. Ramey's holding a piece of paper in his hand. But what he didn't realize, the print on that paper is facing the camera. So years later, the computers were starting to read what's on that piece of paper. And some of the words are victims of the wreck. Weather balloons didn't have victims or pilots. Somebody else I knew was Glenn Dennis, a mortician in 47 at Ballard Funeral Home down the street. Glenn had a contract with the military for ambulance service and funerals for the military guys. And when he got out there, he said there were 2 Army ambulances parked at the rear entrance to the hospital with the back doors open, and what Glenn described as gray-looking metal in the ambulances. So he took the engineerman inside, a 6'2" red-headed captain, grabbed him by the shoulder, turned him around, and said, Glenn, if you go to town and spread any rumors about the hospital, they'll find your bones out in the sand. So that was another threat. Glenn had a nurse friend that worked out at the base. She came out of a side room with her face covered and nauseated. Said, Glenn, you better get out of here before you get in trouble. So the military escorted him back to the funeral home. The next day, the nurse called Glenn. She said, come out to the officers club, I need to talk to you. So he went out there, and on the back of a prescription pad, she drew a picture of an alien. She said she'd been taking notes for a pathologist that was examining a body. She gave Glenn a pretty good description of what they looked like. 3.5 to 4 feet tall, long skinny arms and legs, almond-shaped eyes, very black, no pupil. And she talked about the hand being 4 fingers, not 5. What she said looked like suction cups on the ends of their fingers. So she gave a pretty good description of what they looked like. The next day, Glenn called out there to get more information from the nurse, and he was told, well, the nurse is no longer here, Glenn. She's shipped out. So the next day, the nurse is gone. He did some checking, was told she was killed in a plane crash in Europe. There's no record of a plane crash in Europe.
Now, whether any of this is true or not, and I'm inclined to believe it's not, I've always been amazed at how humans are able to convince themselves to believe things that are seemingly unbelievable. Roswell is not just about UFOs. They also have one of our favorite things here, which is a miniatures museum. We're going to check that out next. This place seems to have miniatures and a store and a craft table, so I think it's just free to come in here. It's very cool. So we decided to come back on a loop from Roswell through the mountains again and up through Cloudcroft. There is still a winter storm warning on. This is not anything that we're not used to, so we weren't concerned about driving through the snow, but there are snow plows out. There's several inches of snow on the ground. So it's real interesting to see this here in the middle of New Mexico.
Yeah, it looks like it's 5 or 6 inches at most here. I think they're supposed to get more overnight though. This is the most of this stretch we've seen, and I think it's going to start tapering off now that we go lower again.
Yeah, we'll be going downhill now.
Oh, here you can see on the map it's green, so. There's snow there, and then it kind of stops. You can see it taper out right here. There, and then not here.
Near freezing temperatures here in New Mexico. Jason's blurry, that's how cold it is. We're dumping our tanks here at Oliver Lee State Park to get ready to head over to Phoenix, so I'm looking forward to some warmer weather. I'm also looking forward to being in Phoenix because we're going to be there for a couple of weeks. Since we left Orlando, we have moved very quickly. We had a 2-night stay, 5 nights, 3 nights, 1 night, 3 nights, and there have been very long drives, 7, 8 hours at a time. So my back is really starting to feel it, and I'm looking forward to maybe getting in a hot tub tonight.